So, g'day boys and girls, welcome back to the channel, just for another quick channel chat video, give you an update on what's going on and why there's been no videos in a while, that sort of thing. So you might be able to hear it in my voice, maybe not quite, but I have actually recently been sick, which was only adding on top of everything else I've been dealing with. As I mentioned previously, although whether or not most of you are actually aware, I have started doing, learning how to do electronic music production, because I've always liked that sort of thing, so I've always wanted to do it. So in the spare time that I don't have, I've been trying to learn and do some of that as well, which has taken my time away as anything. I mean, that and playing weekends and occasionally helping out reffing and whatnot, it just adds to it, same with the full-time job. At the end of the day, that's my fault. I choose to do it, so it just means that every now and then I go to do a video and for one reason or another it's not ready and I can't do it, such as batteries not being charged, things like that. Causes delays. The other reason, which is really the bigger reason, is, and I did mention this previously, I believe in the last channel chat video I did, I'm not sure, might have been the one before that, that my grandfather had fallen quite ill with cancer. And what's actually happened is, a few weeks ago he finally passed after fighting it for about 6 months longer than the doctors gave him to survive, so you can't say he didn't hold in there. And of course, as a result of that, as you can imagine, I live quite a distance from my family. My family's quite spread out, so I had to travel down, to talk to my grandmother, which is, she's in an understandable state. I don't think anyone would judge that. In fact, I think she's actually done quite well, all things considered. And do have quite a large family, so it ended up being quite a big event. But yeah, there was obviously the funeral, dealing with other things, and just dealing with the general results of that, and moving past. I mean, it is what it is. It sucks. He was great. I don't think anyone could ever want for a better grandparent, but it happens. So so that's probably the main reason why I've been so delayed. So I apologise for that. I really need to get off my ass and get back to doing things. And it's not just that which has suffered. I mean, I stopped going to gym for a while and a few other things. So I'm dealing with it. It is what it is. It's just takes time to deal with things. Like anyone who's been through that can probably imagine. Hopefully most people don't have to go through that, at least not too much. Although it is an inevitable part of life, so I do apologise for that. I will be getting back to it. I have quite a few things I would like to do. The reality of it is whether or not those plans will actually come to fruition anytime soon, because like I mentioned, I've already got a bit going on and it's not getting any quieter. Again, full-time job, and that is constantly changing in how I'm doing what I'm doing things, so that impacts in some cases. I might get home from work and I just can't stand looking at a computer. But I'm dealing with it. I mean, I'm not saying that it's anything special or I've got the hardest job in the world. I definitely don't, but it's one of those things that takes time, and you don't necessarily want to come home and do more work every single day, because then you start burning yourself out, which I think got to a point in amongst everything else and just sort of all fell over at the same time. So I am hoping to get my hands on a few of the blasters that have come out previously, and one or two of the newer ones, and get some reviews up on those in a sequence. So get a few of them together and record them all together, and then just release them as I complete them. Like for example, the Beretta 92 pistol, the one that can go to 14.8 volts. I have actually had a test play of one in the shop, and it seems okay, but I'll get my hands on it and show you guys what it's like and what I think of it. It's not bad by any stretch, not at least at initial glance. We'll see how it holds up under further scrutiny, of course. We do also have a couple of the old ones that I never got to, that a few people have asked me about doing, and I would like to do them just for the sake of completing everything, doing all the major ones. So like Gen 8 M4A1s, the ones that really were a benchmark when they came out. The V2 Scar, that has the Gen 8 clone, sort of not really Gen 8, because it's still actually quite useful, and because those two are still quite usable, and easily modifiable. They're also fairly cheap, so they're good budget options, especially people first looking to get into it. So I would like to go over those as well and see how they're going. They also have changed from when they first came out, because over time Jimming just ended up doing extra things to them. So things like that. I would like to do the Wells G36 V2. It's the one that I started with, which if you look at some of my earliest gameplay videos, that's the blaster I was using. So, and I do absolutely love it. It has its issues, of course. It's not perfect, but there is also the LDT Scar, the big one that's incredibly expensive. I'd love to get my hands on that and have a go at it. I wouldn't mind getting my hands on some of the Kublai M4s and whatnot, just to show you what they're like. I'm not a particular fan of them. I'll probably see about borrowing them for the videos. I know a few people that have them, as well as some of the, I think the STD SLRs. I had to play with one of those yesterday and it's quite nice, so I might be tempted to buy one, see how it goes. I still have yet to buy a HK 416 because I just haven't had the opportunity. But I wouldn't mind getting something like that. At least I have one good M4 that's usable. This one here was a Christmas present last year from my partner, and to be honest, I've used it more as a backup, and if she plays and she can use it, that sort of thing, yeah, I don't use it very often, so it just is what it is. I'm honestly, and you'll notice it in most of my videos, I'm always using the ACR or the 249. It just works out that way. I think the 249 might have finally damaged gear. I've got to check on that, but yeah, I can't say I haven't got my use out of it, because yeah, I've absolutely abused that thing. And it was still pretty much standard. So, yeah, there you go. 7.4 volt battery too, and all I did was put a green O-ring and an alloy barrel in it, and it was going great. Yeah, there are a few others I wouldn't mind doing for the sake of doing them. One that you might think of is the Kublai P1 gas blowback pistol. I'm not interested in buying one myself, but I wouldn't mind getting my hands on one to do a review on, just so I can do it and see what it's actually like. It's shaping up in a lot of ways, I think, to a similar scenario that the RX AK had, where there was massive hype around it because it was awesome and whatnot. Obviously more around the P1 because it's a blowback pistol, so there was a big thing there. There's still people thinking that, oh, it might be illegal and whatnot. It's not. That's been clarified by the police, at least in Queensland. It's not illegal. The determining factor is the ammunition, not what drives it. So it's fine, guys. Calm down. Legally, it's fine. They're not going to go through that. They attempt to claim that because it just won't work because of the court cases that have already gone through and how they were decided. But the reason why I say it's turning out like the RX AK was, or at least it's looking like it, is because even before they got here, we were hearing about reliability issues with them. And some of you have probably seen some of the videos kicking around of when they were still over in China and they were falling apart and blowing apart. Of course, there's some will say that they were overpowered and they were stress testing and whatnot, and they could have been, but the reality of it is we were hearing these stories before those videos came out, and this is the same thing that happened with the RX AK. Everyone was saying they're great, and you know, all the shops and retailers were saying they're great and whatnot, but you could hear through the grapevine and whatnot from people overseas that they really were not that good, and they were breaking down and all these sort of issues. And then they got here, and it turned out that, well, they actually were really unreliable things and had a lot of problems. You know, I'm hoping that they're not that bad. I heard that it was just the first batch is no good, but the reality of it is the first batch shouldn't be that bad. You should only have minor issues that you can tweak with the second batch. If your first batch has got reliability issues, you never should have released it. You haven't done your quality control properly. That's my opinion. And if anyone sells a bunch of them and then ends up having to give warranties or returns on them, I don't have any sympathy, because the reality of it is you would have heard these same claims about their unreliability, and you could have just sat back and waited and seen how it went and then jumped on board if it was actually worthwhile. So it is one of those things where I do, like in most cases, I do advise caution, and I know that some people might disagree with this to a point, but if you're going to look at a review of something or get information about something, to try and avoid just getting it from the people who are going to sell it, because they have a motive to sell the unit. If they don't think it's worth selling, they won't stock it and they won't try and sell it. I have no interest in, like, I'm not going to, if I tell you that a blaster is good or bad, it's not going to make any difference to me. So you have at least that to guarantee that I'm a bit more impartial on things. And this is again what happened with this. A lot of shops were saying these are the greatest things ever and everyone should buy them. And there were shops still saying that 2 to 3 months after they had landed and everyone had realised that they were absolute pieces of shit. And I'm sorry, they were. You might have a unicorn version which has never let you down, and if you have, then great, but the reality of it is majority of people had issues from day dot. This thing has broken 5 times and been repaired and it's still not working properly. I know that CQ Blasters, they got in a batch of 5 purely because I asked them to, because I wanted one and a couple other mates wanted one, and we accepted that there was probably going to be issues. You know, I wanted one for the video, makes sense. Every single one of those 5 broke. Not a single one of them worked out of the box, and more than that, not a single one of them continued working. Something else in them always kept breaking. So yeah, I have a very, very hesitant stance when I constantly hear shops saying how good things are, because the reality of it is they can easily mislead you, and they have done so in the past. So that's all my advice. I'm not saying discount what they're saying entirely, of course not. They can be great sources of information. However, take some of their grander claims with a pinch of salt, because at the end of the day, they're still a shop, still trying to sell you something. It's as simple as that. I'm not selling blasters. So if I tell you that this is great or a piece of shit, you know I'm not telling you that because I'm trying to sell you it. Good indicator is if they start telling you negatives. If they're telling you negatives, they might be a bit more honest, because the reality of it is someone who's just purely looking to sell something won't give you the negative story behind it. But anyway, just a bit of consumer advice there, I suppose, because I see some people are still accidentally falling for that. So yeah, I am hoping to get a few of those done up. Of course, I want to do some more gameplay videos. Recently a new field opened up in Rockhampton, run by CQ Blasters, in the middle of Rockhampton, central Queensland, and I really want to play there and get a video of it because I think it'll be awesome. I've got third-person camera mount, and I want to use that more. I've actually got an MP7, I've got some metal gears and a few things. I'm trying to look at getting that done up so I can actually start running the riot shield more, because, you know, especially with the third-person camera mount or the shoulder mount, I think it'll be awesome. So hopefully I'll be able to get some of that done as well. I have a lot of things planned, and one that I do have sort of as an idea in my head is next year, at some point, I would actually like to travel over to New Zealand to play some Airsoft, because I'd love to see the comparison, and I want to play Airsoft anyway. So it'd be a good opportunity for videos, all that sort of stuff. So if you're keen for seeing how that goes when I do it, let me know. I'll definitely try and take some cameras along, because I think it'll be good to do comparisons and give you my thoughts on the differences. Still fighting to make Airsoft legal, obviously, but that's never a quick or easy thing to do, but that is what it is. So yeah, I'm trying to think if there's anything else, but that's really the long and short of it. Not a huge amount has been going on here because of all of those aforementioned issues. So yeah, hopefully I'll be able to start getting some more videos out soon. I'm not going to promise anything at this stage, because the reality of it is, just with the work schedule and everything else going on, I can't guarantee anything. I'd like to get to the point where I can put out a video every week, or at least release a video every week. We'll see how we go on that. It just is what it is. Like, one of my GoPros is playing up. I've got to do a few things there, so yeah. That just unfortunately is what I have to deal with at the moment. A few of the bigger games and milsims that are organised for next year I am definitely keen on going to, because it's the sort of thing that I think is worthwhile. I am interested in doing it here and there, and I also want to go down to Brisbane area and, like, for a long weekend and go to a couple of the fields down there, because they look awesome, and why not? And there's a couple of the G3 guys who actually want to all go down in a group, so carpool down and spend the weekend doing it and whatnot. I mean, why not? So yeah, hopefully I'll be able to get some more stuff out of that. But if you got any questions or anything, or you're not sure, or you want a clarification on anything I mentioned, just post down below in the comments. I'll quite happily let you know what's going on. Can't guarantee I'll get back to you immediately, because once again I still have a full-time job and everything, but I do always try and get back to people within a couple of days. I try and get back to people quicker than that, but yeah, obviously it doesn't always work out. And yeah, I'll look forward to some reviews coming in the next week or so. As always, if you like the video, give it a like. If you dislike it, give it a dislike. Sure, why not? And if you've got any thoughts, comment down below. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. We're not actually all that far away from 3,000 subscribers, which is pretty cool, so thanks for that. And I will, as always, catch you next time.